Alright, YouTubians. I'm gonna ask you a serious question. You see this screen, and what's the first thing you think of, right? You think of maybe the Droid 2 with the capacitive buttons, the 3.7-inch to screen, and obviously the very common Droid X, Droid 2 dock bar there. What if I told you you were wrong? What if I told you this is really the Defy on T-Mobile? This is actually my very customized Motorola Defy with some... Ooh, it looks like you got a status update. With some, my own little customizations to the blur experience and to the phone itself. It's actually not running 800 megahertz. It's actually running at 1 gigahertz with the same TI Mac processor, 512 RAM, all the good specs. But the only real difference is they've changed the dock, and it's running at 1 gigahertz speeds. If you don't believe me, let's do. I'm actually going to do a couple tests. First off, I'm going to do a good quadrant standard. Let me change the wallpaper back. I don't want you to see all my pictures on there. Alright, now that my wallpaper is back to Chrome, let's go to Task Manager and let's kill my apps. Let's kill my unnecessary apps that don't need to be running. Sometimes Task Manager takes a little bit longer to load, and we'll do a little quadrant standard after this is done in a speed test, because we have to do a quadrant standard at speed test. Let's get rid of these. They don't need to be running. Wow, phone portal? Yeah, let's kill all that and kill that. Alright. Now that those are dying, let's get this back into portrait mode. And let's get into... Wow, okay. Let's go into quadrant standard. First, system information. You notice it is the MB525. If I scroll down, if you look at the processor, well, it's currently at 300 megahertz, but the maximum frequency, if you see, is 1 gigahertz. Alright, so let's go ahead and run a full benchmark and let that run. I'm not going to be like some of the other phone reviewers. I'm actually going to let it run the full benchmarking test so you get a good comparison of what it's really like. Let's sort of adjust it because I have my bedroom light is actually right above the screen. Not really, it's kind of offset, but still, it's kind of annoying. Let's find a good place right there. And we're going to see how the phone scores compared to other devices after this whole quadrant standard thing is done, which is almost done. I think there's only one more video test after this. Yep, that's the last test. And actually the camera doesn't do it justice. The screen actually looks really good for those of you who haven't seen a Motorola Defy yet. And it looks like we scored, if I get it to focus there, 1169, which beats the Droid X running 2.1, but it just falls just a little bit short of the Evo running 2.2, which really is pretty good, seeing the device actually is running 2.1 with MotoBlur. It won't get 2.2 until sometime next year. It's been announced for Latin America for Q1, which is January through March. So let's see how that goes. Now next, let's do a speed test. And let's wait for the GPS to get locked so I can get some servers. Alright, let's run the first test. First test, 3.5 megabits per second, which isn't bad. After the GPS has got a good fix, we'll change that a little bit. I think it has gotten a good fix. All right. So let's give it one more test. 4.9, which is really good for just a 3G device. Really good. I mean, the upload speeds being around 600 kilobits per second. It's not that bad. I mean, what do you really need it for? I mean, what do you really need to upload that fast for? Let's do one more just to bit of it out, because I want to try and duplicate these results here. Because if you look, my maximum speed I've gotten was 6.2 megabits per second, but that was at 4:37 in the morning. So let's try one more good time. All right. It's holding steady about 4.8, 4.9 megabits per second, which is pretty decent for a 3G device. Yeah, I mean, you have to admit, it's really, really good for a 3G device. I mean, by any standard. But let's take another look at my whole customization thing. Obviously, we got the dock bar. All the buttons are actually fully functional. You got the red when you got it highlighted. And even the launcher. This is something I've really, really thought was pretty cool about the Defy with 2.1. Actually, there was a market update that was released silently that if you really got to pay attention, I mean, you really got to use the market in order to use it. Let me try and brighten up the phone a little bit. To like, right there is perfect. That was a little bit too bright, but it really gives you a good idea of how bright the phone really is. But if you look at the market, let's go to glimpse. It actually does have the separated tabs, which is pretty different from the original 2.1 market. And if I go to like one of my downloads, and then BusyBox, here we go. It has the tab for allow automatic updating, which really isn't something that's for 2.1. And to let you know that I actually am running 2.1, firmware 2.1 update 1. Once it focuses in. Yep, there you go. But that's all for now. Tune back for my next video, which will probably be, I don't know what. Maybe when 2.2 gets released for the Defy. So signing off, I hope you guys have a great